Welcome back, you guys, to lesson 4.1, Going for the Gold, a champion or a cycling champion story. So, in this lesson, you guys are going to be doing parts 1 through 5. So, we're going to start with your warm up. In the warm up activity, you are going to be answering this question. So this question is basically, soon you will watch a video about an athlete whose improved performance has led to some suspect of him blood doping. Think back on what you learned about the blood doping process. What do you remember about how blood doping works and how it could affect cellular respiration? So answer that question and then pause the video when you right now so you can do the warm up and then join us back for the next part of the lesson. So just a reminder, the warm-up activity should take you no longer than a couple of minutes. So if you're spending more time on it than that, make sure you guys are just keeping an eye on the clock and spending just a couple of minutes, no more than 5. This one today was a 2-minute quick answer. So we're going to move on to the video. So I'm going to pause the video. I want you to pause the video here and go back to Canvas. I have posted this video for you guys to watch on Canvas. So pause this video here so you can go ahead and watch the video on this cycling athlete. All right, so what are your initial thoughts about Jordan Jones? Do you have any questions about Jordan Jones? So talk with your group about this and see if you guys can come up with an answer. What are some of the things that you have questions about? What are some of your initial thoughts about what's going on with him? Do you think he is blood doping? Do you think he's not blood doping? Pause the video here so you can discuss those questions. All right, so we're going to go on to part 2. And in part 2, you're going to be introduced to the science seminar sequence. Next lesson, one of the next lessons we will be doing, you will be doing the science seminar. So we need to get some evidence for that science seminar. So we're going to try to determine what Jordan Jones did to increase his performance so dramatically. Then we have a whole class discussion called the science seminar, in which you're going to share your evidence and you're going to debate whether or not Jordan might have been blood doping. So you guys are going to get some activity cards, and I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But when you get those activity cards, any notes that you want to write, or those evidence cards, any notes that you want to write on those, please do. You'll be able to use those for the science seminar, where we just kind of argue back and forth on two sides, like who think that, like, what's going on. So consider evidence and claims and discussing your thinking about part of the scientific argumentation. One of the most important practices that scientists use is using the evidence to back up their claim. So besides blood doping, what other possible explanation for Jordan's improvements? What are the other possible explanations? Well, didn't you guys read about high altitude training and a change in his diet? Maybe something changed in his diet. So in chapter 4, we're going to focus on this question. How did the athlete increase his cellular respiration and improve his performance? So we're going to look at those claims the National Biking Association has made about how he's improved his performance. You're going to need to determine which claim is best supported by the evidence, and you're going to need to be ready to back it up with the evidence that you have. And like I said, you will be getting evidence cards. So this athlete in activity 2, Jordan Jones, finished 35th in a competitive bike race last year and first in a similar race this year. So how did he increase that cellular respiration and increase his performance? Well, we've got 3 claims. Either that Jordan Jones has increased it by his cellular respiration and improved his performance by blood doping, by changing his pre-race meal, or by training at a higher altitude or higher altitude training or high altitude training. All right, so we're going to go on to part 3. So in part 3, now before I go on to part 3, I'm going to go back for just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to go back for just a moment, and I want you to decide which one of these claims right now do you think that it is. Okay, and I want you to pause the video here and discuss it with your partners. Just take a 30-second discussion or a minute discussion and decide which claim you think it is. And pause the video here to do that. Okay, we're going to go on to activity 3, blood doping and high altitude training. So here, you're going to reread a part of the blood doping article. So blood doping messing with metabolism to win races. So that's the section that you're going to reread, or you're going to look for um, information about two of the three claims. Jordan Jones blood doped or he trained at high altitude. So the article is going to help you focus on just that. Now we know that altitude is actually a measure of how high something is. When considering something on Earth, altitude is measured by how high it is compared to sea level or the level of the sea. So if we went from where the ocean is straight up to where it is, that would be our altitude. We know that down here by sea level we have more oxygen because gravity pulls everything down. Well, up here above sea level, the higher you get, the less oxygen because those molecules are not being pulled down or are being pulled down by gravity. So you're going to have more down near sea level. So, high altitude training would be considered things above 2,400 meters, or as we know it, 8,000 feet. So, at that height, you get way less oxygen and it causes your body to change in ways that are described in the article. So, as you reread the sections, catching blood dopers, okay, that's the first section, and an alternative to blood doping, you're going to annotate the text to help you answer these two questions. And I think there might be 4 questions that you need to answer, but these are the first two. How do doctors use the age of red blood cells to decide whether someone is blood doping or not? And how do doctors use hemoglobin to decide whether they are blood doping or not? There is also a question below these two that asks about how high altitude training helps athletes get more oxygen. And then at high altitude, there is what oxygen in the air than compared to lower altitude. So make sure you answer those questions. I'm going to ask you to pause the video now and hop into your lesson to do that. All right. So, how do doctors decide, or how do they use the age of the red blood cells to decide whether or not someone was blood doping? Well, if they have red blood cells in their body that are old, okay, usually the body replaces red blood cells. If they're old, then the doctors can actually see that when they take a blood sample and they know that that person has been taking old blood that they've stored for a time and putting it back into their body. So how do we know, how do they use hemoglobin levels to decide whether or not someone was blood doping? Well, hemoglobin is a very specific part of the red blood cells that carry oxygen. And if a person has more blood cells, then they have a very high hemoglobin number. If this number is a lot higher than the week before when they did a blood test, then that's evidence that they were blood doping. So, what are oxygen levels like at high altitude? Okay, if you read in the article, they're higher at a high altitude. And I want you to discuss these two questions with your partner. And how can high altitude training help athletes to get more oxygen into their cells? So pause the video here and discuss that. All right, so when you are at higher altitudes with less oxygen, your body makes more red blood cells in order for you to get more oxygen or as much as you possibly can. Now, it takes a little while for that to happen. So it takes a few weeks of training up at that level, and that they can still have a high number of red blood cells because they have done that. All right, we're going to look at part 4. Part 4 is reviewing the criteria for high quality evidence. So we're going to start by evaluating some things about Jordan Jones. And if you have not finished the last section, go ahead and pause the video so that you can complete the last section and choose whether you think that the claim A, the example in claim A, or claim B is higher quality evidence. All right, now that you have finished with part 4 and decided which one is a higher or lower quality piece of evidence or which one's higher quality, remember that in each conclusion, you're going to make a strong argument. You really need to use high quality evidence. So your first job today will be to examine, which you should have just done, whether it is high quality evidence. Now, I want you to think back on what you answered. Evidence that is higher quality is based on more data. Because there is more data, we have more confidence because we can see patterns in it. We'll evaluate evidence using this criteria. So let's practice with this poll. And actually, you guys have already answered this. So discuss this with your partner and pause here. All right, so which claim is actually higher quality evidence? If you said A, did it have enough data? Did B have enough data? Well, in B, you had 20 different pieces of data, which is enough to start seeing a pattern. So it would be like taking a night of sleep patterns versus a month of sleep patterns. You're going to see a much much bigger range of things so you can see if patterns are happening in a month. The person in example A came to the conclusion that they ran the race because they ate, because of one meal that they ate. Why is this probably not a strong claim to make? Is one meal enough data? What could they have done to make a stronger claim based on high quality evidence? Yeah, they could have collected more data. Now you're going to work with a partner to discuss the evidence about Jordan Jones and decide where to place it on the gradient based on the quality of evidence. So we're going to go to part 5 to do that. So if you need to pause the video to finish up part 4 here, do that now. All right, so each of you will get a set of cards, okay? And you're going to cut those cards apart. You will only use one of the sets during this part of the activity. Each pair will also get an evidence gradient, so you guys can lay these out and decide what's higher quality evidence. As you choose where to place each piece of evidence on the gradient, you will ask yourselves, does this provide enough data to start establishing a pattern? You're going to notice that the evidence criteria has been included so you can refer to it and evaluate the evidence. So you're going to jump into your lesson now and discuss with your partner each of the pieces of evidence, and you want to decide on the quality of that evidence to help you start building your argument. So evidence is higher quality when it's based on more data. Remember that as you're doing this, because you can be more confident and see patterns in that data. So when you read these pieces of evidence, like it says here, ask yourself the following question: does this provide enough data to establish a pattern? Review the evidence cards that you rated as low quality. If you feel that they're not high quality enough, just put them in the discard pile or put a little slash through it, not so you can't read it because you want to be able to come back and look at these, but put a slash mark over the top of it lightly in pencil so you know that that's not one of your strongest pieces of evidences you're going to use when you go to do the class argument. All right, so think about where you placed each one of those cards. Okay, and you need to talk to Ms. Zarata about what you see is low quality and high quality before you move on to the next lesson and before you come to your mastery check. So please make sure that you do that. And we already talked about discarding them, but that is the end of our lesson today. So please go ahead and make sure you check your key concepts and take your mastery check and discuss a couple of those pieces of evidence with your partner or with Mrs. Zarata.